If you are staking through Time Wonderland and you're wondering whether or not you should wrap your Memo, as we know, Memo is what you are receiving for staking your time, whether or not you are paying tax on every rebase. So basically 8 hours, you are wondering what to do in this video. We're going to be taking a look at all of it, so stay tuned and enjoy the video. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Eric here and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. In this video, we are taking a look at taxes. It's almost year's end, and of course, taxes are not something that anybody wants to talk about, and I am not a tax professional. I would recommend actually consulting a tax professional for crypto related stuff because the rules are very vague and it also depends on where you live. And let's just get into the nitty-gritty to understand whether or not every single rebase is a taxable event. So if we go into this forum, this is basically the CRA, this is Canadian. So for those of you guys residing outside of Canada, this doesn't necessarily apply to you. We'll get into the US side of things as well. But if we understand that taxable income from mining and staking, basically you have to understand for yourself that in Canada, it's either capital gains or business income. And depending on which of the ones it is, you are going to be taxed at a different rate. But essentially, if we scroll down here to staking cryptocurrency, it says the CRA has not released specific guidance for staking of cryptocurrency. Because staking is similar in nature to mining of cryptocurrency, the safest approach is to treat received coins from staking in a similar fashion to mining. So here we see that if you are mining for just a personal hobby, you will only pay capital gains when you sell your coins later. And because if we're talking about mining, you didn't actually pay anything for the coins originally, so your cost basis should be considered as zero so that your capital gains are equal to the market value of the time when you do decide to sell your coins. So essentially, if we just understand what's going on here, basically every time you are staking and receiving coins from staking, it is classified as a taxable event, and thus it would have to be declared as capital gains. If we move on and we take a look at the US, whether or not this is a taxable event, it basically says receiving staking rewards is a taxable event in the US, similar to receiving interest from your crypto from comparable investment vehicles, and thus you are going to be taxed on this. Now, something very important to note in both cases, whether Canadian or US, you will only be responsible for the staking rewards and have tax obligations if you receive them in your wallet and are in full control of them. Once you get the staking rewards, you need to report them as ordinary income based on their fair market value at the time of receipt. So let's just put things into perspective. If you guys are actually receiving Memo tokens for staking time on Wonderland, you should technically be tracking the amount of Memo you receive every single 8 hours, and you are only going to be taxed on the fair market value at the time that you do receive those time tokens or those Memo tokens for this example. So if we just go back to Wonderland and try to make sense of all of this, you are going to be receiving your rebases every 8 hours. So the next rebase in this case is in an hour and 37 minutes. And at that time, I will be receiving a certain amount of Memo. And also at that time, that Memo is going to be equal to a specific price. Now, what you have to understand is that you are only entitled to report what the amount of Memo you received at that time and the current price of Memo at that time. So you don't actually have to pay tax on what you do end up receiving in the long term. You only have to declare what you get at that specific time. So I hope that kind of makes sense, but there is another way around it. If we go back to understand what they said, it said you will only be responsible for staking rewards and have tax obligations if you receive them in your wallet and are in full control of them. So there is an alternative to this, and this is basically wrapping your Memo. And what we need to understand here is that you can do this either from Wonderland itself, you can go into wrap here, or you can go on Abracadabra, which is also founded by the same people who created Time Wonderland. So this is basically intertwined, and you shouldn't worry about using Abracadabra because of course it is founded by the same people who made Time. So this is actually what I did. I went ahead and I clicked wrap. I do have my wallet connected connected. And if you see, it says I have 0 memo, but if I switch it back and I go to wrap memo, you can see that I have 0.000679 memo. If I were to put this all at once, we can see that my memo balance, which is also known as the time balance when you do stake, I have exactly 0.0139 blah 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 time or memo. So I could go and unwrap them, and at that time I could withdraw it back to time. Now why would I want to do this is because every single time there is going to be a rebase, the amount of memo I have isn't actually going to change. It is only the price that is going to change, and that is essentially a way around paying capital gains for every rebase, because it's essentially the same thing as just holding a stock and having that value go up, and then once you do end up selling it, well then you actually report your gain only when you sell it and not every single time you're receiving rebases. So as you guys can see, I have my wallet connected, but it doesn't show my staked balance, it doesn't show my next reward amount, and you guys are probably going to be freaking out if you've wrapped your memo and now you're like, oh my god, I can't even see what is happening, where are my rewards, where's my balance? But not to worry. So if you click on wrap or you go to abracadabra, you can actually see the amount of memo or time you have. So we can see right here that one memo is actually equal to 0.0486 wrapped memo, and this value actually changes every single rebase, so it does become smaller and smaller because of the way the protocol actually works. So you are going to be gaining value every single rebase. It's just not going to be gaining you actual amount of memo, but the price of wrapped memo is going to increase. So the way to check your actual balance is if you go ahead and you switch that, you put your wrapped memo, you can see the amount of memo I have. And as I've said, if you unwrap it, you are going to then have this as time. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys. And if we just take a look at what is really the difference here, is basically that wrapped memo is a version of memo, and people who have wrapped memo receive their rebases as an increase in the value of wrapped memo rather than an increase in the amount of memo. So your actual amount of memo is going to stay the same, but the price of wrapped memo is going to increase, which is essentially just like holding a stock and the stock continues to increase. That's exactly what it is. You're not getting more memo tokens. You are just seeing the price of wrapped memo go up by the same amount that the rebase is. So that's why there's no difference, but that is also why you won't be paying capital gains on every single rebase, because it's literally treated as a stock. Now, that is basically what I wanted to say. Again, you guys can do this on Abracadabra or on Time Wonderland itself. It's super easy to do. You can see here a little tutorial on wrapping it. You select your memo, you select wrap memo, and you click wrap. It's as simple as that. So with all that being said, that is going to wrap up today's video. Again, nothing I say here is financial advice, and I would definitely recommend you guys consulting a tax professional if you have any questions about crypto taxes. But with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Peace.